right on, right on.
The band were a Canadian/American rock band formed in 1957. From 1958 to 63, they were the backing band for Ronnie Hawkins and were known as the Hawk. He instilled a musicianship and discipline in them to the extent that they effectively outgrew him. In the mid-60s, they got a lot of exposure as Bob Dylan's backing band, in particular on his first electric tour in 1966. After they left him, they changed their name to the band. This was amicable, and they continued to work with him over the years. They broke up in 1977 after 8 albums and one change of drummer. One more album was released in 1978, which was a live album, but also the soundtrack to a film about them performing on their last tour. They reformed in 1983 until 1999 with a much larger incidence of member changes and 3 more albums towards the end of that stint, but significantly without Robbie Robertson, who was probably best known of their members and their effective leader, sometimes autocratically, in the first stint. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is a live album by the band and is my first time listening to it. It's been recorded over 4 nights at the Academy of Music in New York. And as is common, is kind of stitched together from, so it's not like a continuous bit that's been taken live as it happened. And is a double album, which was pretty common at the time for live albums. So it's been described as roots rock. I guess that's not a bad classification. It's got a horn section on most of the tracks, which was not a usual thing for the band. And this was, I think, the first outing of this horn section from New York with them. Otherwise, we've got guitar, bass, and drums, quite a prominence of rock organ and piano, also mandolin, a violin, saxes, a clavinet, and quite a flexible approach to who plays what. So if you kind of thought, oh, well, you got one pianist and one organist, then that's not quite right because they move around a bit somewhat. And it's rock with elements of Americana, so bits of blues, country, and folk. But the horns being introduced make them sound a little bit more soul at times. Or, in fact, in one track, Rag Mama Rag sounds a bit New Orleans because of the kind of New Orleans brass band kind of feel to it. It's quite varied in feel, actually. So from straight rock to more folk and these other flavors. There's one track which is W.S. Walcott Medicine Show, which is in a style that I never really know how to describe it. It's kind of circusy, kind of vaudeville-y almost. Um, yeah, but so generally quite a variety of feels in a way that I associate with singer-songwriters of that kind of time. I'm going to name check here. Not that any of these are perfectly, this would be exactly them, but similar in some ways to Randy Newman, Elton John, Billy Joel, and the names that I put down. And then I realised that all 3 of those were pianists, and made me wonder about, is there quite a strong piano element here? There's certainly quite a keyboard presence here, more so than some bands. It's played well. I enjoyed it musically. It's quite loose and laid back. It's got kind of relaxed feel to it. The vocals are competent, but sometimes a little bit lost. I think there are 3 of them who are sharing the lead vocal duties. I think just one by Robbie Robertson. There could be more presence to the vocals here. I think that's possibly the weakest part of this, really. There are some songs that I know. There was The Weight, which I didn't actually know it by that name. I guess that's its name. I just recognised it. King Harvest, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, This Wheel's on Fire, Rag Mama Rag. So a good handful of stuff I go, oh yeah, I know this, yeah. The songs are generally a grab bag of kind of story songs, but songs about life, I guess. It's not, given the year, where are we, 1972, and given the background, it's more. So I think using the term roots rock is better than to describe them as anything that approaches the psychedelic, because there's not really fantastic stuff going on in here in the lyrics. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm glad to have heard it. But while it's not going to be one of my favourites, it's kind of reasonably up there. Kind of, yeah, this is pretty. It's on the good side of acceptable, definitely. So that's what I think of this album. As always, I'd love to ask you to tell me what your thoughts are on this, on the band, on the review. Anything you want to say, please do leave a comment. I love reading comments from people. The next review on this channel is going to be of the album Relaxing with Miles Davis, and that's it from me for now.